Next, we've got new dialogue from unknown source. And again, I'm going into all this blind, by the way.
Yeah.
So what's this? An empty vessel, an absent role, both must be filled once more. The song begins anew. Titanic, draconic, demonic, Shathyar, vessel. Okay, so are these the words that mean vessel in those languages?
Looks like it.
Now, it's interesting around me. We got... So who's saying it? Because Titanic, draconic, demonic... Because those are all languages that player characters can speak. No,
they can't
Titanic.
speak Titanic. Or
Can a warlock not speak?
a warlock can... No, warlock can force people to speak demonic.
And then Shathyar is a void priest.
Yeah.
Or shadow priest, even.
Yeah, Shadow Priest in void form.
So, an empty vessel, an absent role. I mean, is that going to be the Arbiter? Is it the Arbiter's soul?
The song begins anew. The Arbiter doesn't sing.
It's a song of creation, then?
Azeroth sings.
Azeroth sings.
The Oracle talks about her song, seemingly in reference to Azeroth. So, now, this is very annoying, because I have seen,
Uh-oh.
and I'm not sure if this is real or if it was just a shitpost, but I did see a Sylvanas' new model, but the color of Azerite. Could be a shitpost.
That's got... Where'd you see it?
I will not divulge where I saw it online.
Basket weaving forum?
Yeah,
Of
but
course. Okay. It's got to be a shitpost, dude.
yeah, but I'm just thinking. Okay, well, an empty vessel, absent rule. Both must be filled.
Sylvaneroth.
An empty. Yep. Could you imagine what? Can you imagine the dislike bar on the cinematic, if we were allowed to see it? What that would look like?
In fairness, I think if Sylvaneroth happened, like, Jaina would blow the planet up herself.
Okay, that is a shitpost. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, that's a shitpost. That's got to be a shitpost.
Yep.
But I suppose this is interesting then, because if it's, empty vessel, absent role, song begins anew, this is relating to Azeroth, and then we have, Titanic, that's obvious, Azeroth Titan, draconic.
Which is weird because...
Also draconic, like the dragons are uplifted by the Titans, so is there a sort of a link there between their languages?
Okay, so the only thing that is setting me off to say this is purely about the force of Azeroth is demonic being on Azeroth. There's nothing demonic naturally tied to Azeroth, but outside of the fact that she's been invaded by the Burnt Legion 400,000 times, but anyway.
Yeah, fairly interesting. I'm not 100% sure what's going to be going on there, but hey, could be interesting. Because, this is about Azeroth, and of course Azeroth is to where we will return and presumably stay for the next expansion. It's actually, I'll be real with you, everyone. If the next expansion shows some of the systems-y thinking that's going into 9.2, but it actually has, a setting that is just a little bit more core Warcraft, look, I'm not really looking for a 10 out of 10. I'm looking for an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Just okay.
I just want a solid slice of Warcraft that doesn't have all the friction Warcraft has had. I'm not going to be going into the most high, lofty expectations in the universe.
No.
And if they can just bring me back to a setting that I've, fallen in love with since I was young, characters that are handled reasonably, a story that just keeps it nice and simple, and systems that don't get in my way, and with some cool ways to express my character, I'll be happy enough. If they then tell me they have player housing or, Class Order Halls V2 or something like that, then I'm going to be very excited. So, it is what it is. And here's the situation too. It seems like FF14 and World of Warcraft have expansions that come out in alternate years.
Yep.
So, if WoW and FF are both pumping out great expansions. Now, obviously, FF typically does that. WoW, not so much.
Less typically.
But let's just say the shit maybe does right a little bit. We have, let's just say, a good Warcraft expansion, an excellent FF14 expansion, a very good WoW expansion, an excellent FF14 expansion, and then we end up in this situation where every single year we have a big new MMORPG expansion to enjoy. And of course, if you're into SWTOR, ESO, and the other things, oh, you have so much game to play. That's where I want to get. Surely that's where we all want to get. Because, you know, even everyone who's just being like, oh, lol, I mean, look, man, I know, I get it. The whole copium hospital bed thing, was it Captain Grimm who made that? Yeah. Whoever it was made. That's one of the funniest fucking things. It's great. I love that shit. I'm with you. It's funny. But surely we're only saying these things because we once loved what Warcraft was. And surely that means we do want it to be better again. Back to, you know.
Well, I mean, the whole point of copium is that it's an unrealistic belief. So you have to be high to consider it possible, I think is largely the point of it. I mean, obviously there's people who are out there saying, no, the game's good now. In that case, more power to you for enjoying it, but I think the majority of people disagree.
In that case, it's like, well, if you think it's good now, then a lot of us would disagree with you, but if you're happy, then that's good. What if we told you that actually for a lot of people it's not great, but if it was great for those people, it'd be even better for you? Oh, look, we all want to move along down the same road.
Except you've got tribalism in play.
Uh-oh.
Because, I mean, I've even seen people act like, oh no, well, if World of Warcraft gets good again by your standards, you won't be welcome back. That kind of carry on, which is profoundly unhelpful, but...
There's a really easy way to go about that. And it's whenever I see, like, you know, sometimes we appear in a WoW or an FF thing. Yeah. Or not an FF, sorry, a WoW or an MMO champion thread. Yeah. And all these people, they say, and I'm like... No. I don't care what you think. I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want. I've actually never asked for your permission in the first place, so suck my dick. Yeah. No one cares. Yeah. Right? It's just like, you just fucking do your thing, you know? Listening to people is useful. You just need to know, you know, when do you, when don't you? And I think when you get the little whiffs of tribalism, that usually means, you know, that's just the person going forth, you know, on their fucking programming. Right, their 3D printed opinion, to stay in theme with this stream. And if somebody's going off on their 3D printed opinion, it's really simple. You know, hope they don't do too much damage as they flail around with their 3D printed opinion. But most importantly, just don't pay any attention to them, you know? There's all these, you know, people who, they see themselves, you know, get flamed on a Reddit post. And I'm just like, can you imagine giving a fuck what Reddit or MMO champion think about you? And, like, that goes in both ways, by the way. Yeah. You know, if Reddit's mega happy, I'm like, okay, cool, some people like their stuff. Move on. Yeah. I think, you know, it all becomes a problem whenever people, like, they obsess about what people think about them, and they're just sitting there Googling themselves all the time, being like, oh, what's the latest thread about me? What are they saying? Are there people slighting my ego? You know, all that fucking crazy shit in the internet. So it's just, man, just do what you do, and, you know, enjoy the copium train and all those things for what they are as a little bit of fun, but certainly don't let it become an identity thing. Yeah. Because then you just end up with a 3D printed identity. Don't want that.
That's where it goes very, very wrong for people.
Yeah, and man, the entire modern culture is pushing everyone to have a 3D printed, like, identity, by the way. Yeah. Because, look, you could say pragmatically, I mean, okay, well, I guess we are a media organization, aren't we?
That is us, indeed.
If everyone who watched us had a 3D printed opinion that we could fucking count on, imagine how effective our calls to action would be. Imagine our deep level of audience engagement. So that, you know, and so it's like we can totally see from our position how that works. Yeah. And how creating, you know, the super tribalism is a fucking short-term powerhouse. But then you look at the rest of me, you're like, oh, well, we could obviously see what this is doing and how it's basically destroying society.
I think it's that short-term versus long-term thing where you can optimize for having, you know, basically making conscripts out of people who enjoy your opinion, but you're just going to degrade the quality of that community as a whole. And then you end up with people fighting each other like crazy instead of having fun. And that's the long-term. I mean, even if you make people who engage with your content about a specific game and then they become, you know, whatever sort of almost like, I mean, it's a bit rude to put it this way, but it actually reminds me of Bill Burr talking about his dog. And this is, I promise this makes sense. He had this dog that was really hyper aggressive and he couldn't rely on it to behave. And he's really pissed off with it, and he took it to a trainer, and it was like mental with the trainer. And then the trainer's like, well, tell me what a day with your dog's like. And Bill would take it out for a walk. he'd go pretty fast with the walk, play with the load, and then he'd bring it back into the house, and then he'd kind of wrestle with it. And the trainer's like, every single day you've been training this dog to be hyper aggressive in its own house to defend its home. It's play defending, but it is defending. So if anyone else walks into the house, they're gonna go, "This is my fucking house. I'm gonna tear the shit out of you."
Yeah.
And that's what you end up doing with people as well when you're like trying to engage with them in certain ways. You just have these rabid dog people who are trying to,
Oh boy.
Yeah, you've got these rabid people that are, defending their land, defending their ground, and it's just no one wants to be in a house with a dog that's going to tear its feet off. Like,
yeah,
a bit of a roundabout way of saying.
No, I get it.
Yeah, don't try to drive people into that kind of way of thinking, no matter what you do, because you're just going to massively degrade the quality of everyone's life in that environment.
Yeah, and Dante, the reason why we're talking about Bill Burr, tribalism, and the dog is because we truly think that these are important topics within, within gaming, actually.
Yeah.
They're important topics within society. They inform the cultural context within which video games are made, right? So, it's that whole thing. Like, if as a developer, you're just kind of always trained in this, we're the best sort of defensive way, you're not going to be good at listening to feedback. You're going to be stubborn. Yep. For fan bases, then all the fucking crazy chaos that all that creates, right? So it's all really important stuff. I know it is kind of like a level different, but I think it's relevant.